Okay, so next step is we need to import, right? We need to import this important statistic library, stat models, right? To use logistic regressions, right? So we train the logistic regressions. We create a logistic regression model with a dependent variable and a list of independent variables, right? So in the logit, right? If you look at the input argument, you start with a single quote and then what? This is the dependent variable and then tilde. And then you have list of independent variable with a plus sign. And then your data is equal to theoretic history. And then important is fit functions, right? So you're going to use the fit functions. By the way, this data is a theoretic history, right? And the theoretic history is from here, right? We run this, we basically read the training data set, right? Okay. So once we click this, the theorem model, right? Then we can look at the summary. The summary is what? To evaluate, to look at the p-values and z-value for each independent variable, right? So that's the idea. Okay, in the logistic regressions, you know that we do not need to remove non-statistically significant independent variables from your model as you do in the linear regression, right? So that's the big difference. And then if you look at the summary, right? Here are the summary. From the model, we can look at the summary. So when you look at the summary, let's look at the p-values. So this is a list of independent variables, and then we look at the z-value and the p-value. For example, pretty much the p-values are very small, except concession vouchers. The p-value is 0.258. It's pretty big value, right? It's obviously greater than 0.05, right? Okay. We're gonna look at this. We're gonna revisit this summary table when you solve exercise problems. Okay. So now, then once we have a fit, right? Once we have a fit, then the next step is predict, right? So here's the predictions, predict from our trained model, right? So predict, and then for the input argument, we use the scoring data set, right? And then when you run it, the return value is something called a post probability, right? So this is for example, like this is return the post. So this is 2.0 multiplied by 10 to the negative 4. It's very small value. It's close to 0. And this one is obviously is close to 0, right? Because 1.5 multiplied by 10 to the negative 10th. So this is extreme small values. It's a 0 basically, right? Okay. So that's the prediction value. So now the next step is we need to combine the prediction with the scoring data set by adding a new column called prediction probability, right? Because logistic regressions prediction values are something called post probability, right? I showed you, right? This is post probabilities, right? So the exact name is the post probability confidence percentage, right? Of each observation having yes or no predictions, right? Okay, so then we multiply this post probability confidence percentage by 100 for the readability and round to the 1 actually, and to improve readability. So basically this is the command to create a new column called prediction probability, and then this post probability confidence percentage is multiplied by 100 and round to the 1 decimal, right? And the 2 lists. So this is converted to the list, right? Okay, so now when you run this, I just want to look at a couple of them, right? You see that I see the new column called prediction probability, and I see the this number, right? So this is like a 1.4% because we multiply by 100, right? And this is like a 0.2%, right? 0.1%. It's not the 0.1, right? It's a 0.1%. Okay. So, but this is not good enough, right? We need to convert this to a yes or no, right? For the readability, right? So we're gonna create a new column called predict yes or no, And then if this prediction probability is, for example, if this value is greater than 50, the 50%, then the yes, right, will be, we're gonna fill that cell with a yes. If it's not, then no, right? So 50 means 50%. So this, for example, this is 1.4%. So then this will be filled with no, right? Okay, so now let's just create a new column. The predict yes and no, right? And then I don't want to see everything, so you know what? Let's just see the last value, okay? And then we'll see that we have a predict yes and no columns with yes or no, right? Okay, so now let's just run. Okay, now as you can see, our new column, right? The predict yes and no, right? Yes and no, right? It's gonna be no if this value is less than 50. Right? For example, the value is gonna be yes if this value is what? Greater than 50, right? Okay. So okay. So now let's just The next step is the count the number of yeses and no predictions in the scoring data set, right? So this is yes and no. So how many no's? There's 80. How many yeses? There's 68 record, right? Okay. So pretty much I'm done with the coding, and in my next lecture I'm gonna show you how to solve each questions. Not all of the questions, but yes, many of them. Okay. So thank you.